complies with the general purpose and intent of the zoning ordinance. We're actually trying to make this comply with other zones. So, in my opinion, that could be a yes, that it complies. No non-conforming use or structure in the same district shall be considered the sole grounds for the issuance of the variance. That doesn't seem like what we're doing here. That's not applicable. And if not for the variance under 9H, they would be deprived of the ability to have a sign, which other properties similar would enjoy that right, or that ability. And it does not vary the use regulations in 9I. So, if that seems sound, I would entertain a motion.
I move that we allow for the signage to be comparable to that in other districts with the frontage that they would have on Aspen, even though in our determination, so they would have the maximum use for that zone. Does that make sense?
And and there was a specific number mentioned at one point. Do you want that to be part of your motion?
Just the maximum amount, because their square foot, their frontage is gonna be beyond what
Yeah.
the maximum is gonna be, so. What was it, whatever.
I'll second it.
It's calculated based on the frontage on Aspen.
Okay.
And building not a building.
Okay. All right. We have a motion and a second. Yep. All right. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, motion carries. Okay, so now we should be back on the numbering system. We should be at item 15, variance application, Brandon Valley Hockey Association signage for Aspen Park, page 100 of the packet.
Tom Grunick, 1901 South Archstone, Sioux Falls, South Dakota. I guess we would ask for the same as the wellness group. We're good with that.
Okay. Any other questions or discussion from the board?
I'll make a motion to approve the variance with the same stipulations as the prior.
And I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right, so that concludes the Board of Adjustment agenda. So I would entertain a motion to adjourn the Board of Adjustment.
So moved.
Okay, motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
If you don't want to stay, you don't
We'll
have to stay.
reconvene the Planning and Zoning Commission, and we will continue.
If you had a good time here tonight, on August 16th from 4 to 7 p.m., we have a comp plan and a master transportation plan informational meeting at the golf course. So, you know, if you super enjoyed yourself tonight and you want to go out and talk to us about it, we'd love to see you there.
Okay, so we're back on the board, on the Planning and Zoning Commission, and we're at discussion items. We have item 16, residential driveway regulations, page 116.
So we talked about this last time. This is kind of a first draft. We still have to sync up the road terms with what'll come out in the transportation plan and other things. But this is kind of what I picked up from the conversation, if things look right, if we need to discuss it some more, or how you want to do with it. But this is the language that I gathered from that.
So one comment I would have in the first sentence, an additional driveway may be allowed on each secondary frontage. I don't think we should allow more than two. So could we change that wording to a second?
Yep.
One would be
One
allowed.
additional driveway may be
Yes.
allowed on, you get to choose if you have another
Yes.
frontage, it's
On-
easy to decide. If
Yeah,
you
so
have
if you
two
got,
other.
if you got 3 frontages, you still only get 2.
Put that wordage at the end of that sentence. Or say not to exceed 2 at the end of that sentence.
We'll get the, we'll
Yeah.
come up with something that, yep.
Okay.
And then
Whether,
on the last sentence, it says such driveways shall connect directly to a garage, and it may not be accessed from an arterial street. So we're still gonna get the arterial street definition.
yeah, we're going to have to sync up what we want to
Okay.
call those.
We-
The intent was it not to come off of Aspen or Split Rock or one of the main streets.
So I got a little concerned with that. So if you, I mean, we've got, most houses have garages now, but there still are a few that do not. So I think we should still allow at least off the frontage, off the front yard, that it doesn't have to align with the garage.
Okay.
But I think any second one should align with either a garage or an accessory structure.
I
Sorry,
agree.
connect,
I kind of
not-
think
not
that
align.
since this is for an additional driveway, I don't think that that would void out your ability to put in a driveway, your main driveway. So I understand where you're coming from, though, because there are certainly houses, you don't want to have something come in and then all of a sudden you can't put a driveway in. Is 40 feet enough? What do we allow on a 3-stall garage?
It's still 40 feet linear with at the property line. Well, it's at the
It's
side.
at the sidewalk now.
But this is saying,
But you can, once it's past the sidewalk, it can,
sure,
As
but this is
long as you
saying
keep the 7-foot setback.
cumulative width of all driveways should not exceed 40 feet. So if you have a 3-stall garage, which most properties that we're talking about, executive lots and things like that, you're already gonna have a 40-foot driveway, so we're not gonna be able to use this on executive lots.
how I imagined this to be used was you'd have a 20-foot and it'd be a 20-foot going out. That's how I imagined it, I guess. But if we want to add another, I don't know if we want to add another 20-foot to another frontage, if you want to say, I don't know if that would be,
I was kinda wonder if the second one
Should not exceed.
should not exceed maybe 20, yeah.
For a 2-stall.
if you have a 40 already, you can add a 20 to another frontage.
Yeah. Otherwise, I think our intent is that if there's places that can use this, we're talking about bigger places that are gonna
Well, I
work the
think
best.
when it started is the circle drive type of deal, and then I think we got into, having like well, double frontage and then having another accessory building to have access to it, I think then that started, so I would agree with another 20 foot on another frontage.
To me, I was just, earlier it was talked about the, not wanting to prohibit a house without a garage from having their primary driveway. Well, I think the whole exception reads an additional driveway, and so the such driveways seems to apply just to an additional to me, so I think
That's
That's
the
okay.
intent. Since we originally, potentially this could read you could have 3 if you had a triple frontage. It would be the additional driveway shall connect directly to.
And I do think that we should stick to the 20-foot, because if someone already had 30 feet, I don't think we want another 30 feet. I think the second drive, 20 feet is sufficient.
So you'd want to say more like the width of the additional driveway could not exceed, instead of the cumulative, let the ordinances handle the regular driveway.
If you usually go 24, but a typical, like a older house, it was always 24 by 24. And some would someone would just pour to the garage door, which is 16 foot. But usually you should pour to 24, but I don't know if you need. I mean,
you
you
could
could do
be-
24 just to make it so it's straight line, instead of otherwise, what they're gonna do is they're gonna go 20 and then they're gonna go out anyway, once they get past that. The 2-stall garage is typically 24 feet wide.
Okay, good on that? All right, item 17, home daycare size limits, page 117 of the packet.
So, months ago, we had a request by somebody they wanted to have more kids in their daycares. They wanted us to adjust the 12 number. So, for daycares, in-home daycares, we allow you to have up to 12 kids. If you are above that, you become a daycare center. You have to go into a commercial district, be a standalone center. So, that didn't seem to gain much traction with you all, because if it was an isolated problem, then why write things for one situation? I've had another call, so I wanted to provide you more information. The state recently amended a whole lot of rules. It didn't really tweak the numbers, it just increased the amount of kids that someone can watch. It didn't increase the numbers. So the state has the group home, registered family daycare, all the stuff at the end of the packet. The one sheet on page 117 and 118 is what the city of Sioux Falls does, basically exactly what we do. So I just wanted, since I did get another call, I just wanted to bring it to your attention to see if you wanted to relook at it. You're still good to go, but, so,
What was is that an in-home daycare that they were looking at?
correct. They wanted to go up, the last one wanted to go up to, I want to say 15. So it was just a little bit of bump up, but we would have to change the language. And if it was a one-off situation, do we change language for one person kind of thing? But
I guess my concern is in-home is gonna be a lot harder to regulate as far as, there's a big chance that it's gonna be one person there. And versus a center, the bigger you get, there's more people, so 12 kids for one person, I got 3, that's.
12 sounds like a lot of kids to me.
My concern is, in daycares, licensed daycares, whatever the state decides, the ratio is fine. But those are those have to be in a business district. I think what we're talking about is in-home daycares, which can pop up in your backyard or your next door neighbor. And so I think 12 is the right number. I think I'd like to keep it at 12. And it's not just because of the ratio of how many people one person can watch, but it's to protect the neighbors in a residential area.
on 120 and 121, kind of the 2 in-home categories that the state uses are, if you're 12 or fewer, you don't necessarily have to be registered, and that's kind of where we get our 12 number. If you are, you can be in home and registered with the state if you have 13 to 20. So state-wise, you can have up to 20 kids in your house. You would probably need 2 people watching them, and that'd be on them to make sure that's happening. Then they go to the daycare, whereas us in Sioux Falls, 13 and above, you're a daycare center, commercial district. So whether we wanted to mirror Sioux Falls, if we wanted to move more towards the state, we have had 2 conversations about it, whether that is just 2 or if more people are just being represented by the 2, I don't know. I just wanted to keep us on top of the conversation.
Yeah, I still want to, I'd still prefer to keep it where we have it. I know there's a big demand for it, but here again, you know, we pretty much rubber stamp them when they come through, and I think it would maybe get on some people if we started to increase the number of kids that could be, you know, in their neighbor's backyard.
I'm picturing a 1-bathroom house with 12 kids wanting to go to the bathroom all at once. And I'm thinking, no.
Would we, is there anything here, I'm trying to formulate a thought, but where, I mean, if the state of South Dakota has this provision, are we disallowing something? I mean, we're in,
The state would allow something we do not, and that's where the conflict comes in. People
Yeah.
want to do it because the state allows it, but we do not, so they run into that block from us.
But we do allow for someone to have a larger facility. They just have to do it outside of their home. And that's the same as any other business. When you get to a certain point, your infrastructure changes and you need to go someplace else. So, and I do agree, not only when you're doing it in your home, it's harder, you know, for one person to watch so many whatever, but it does certainly impact others, and that's why we require, when you get to a certain size, you have to go to a different zoning to limit the impact in the neighborhood. And I think 12 kids next to you is plenty, and we're certainly not doing something that prohibits daycares. You just have to go to a zone that allows for it, and we have provisions for that.
any other discussion on that? No. Okay. I got to peek at the agenda one more time. Do we have, was that our last item? We don't have building permits. Okay, well, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All right, motion a second. All those in favor say aye. Motion carries. We are adjourned at 8:50.